Chapter 28, The Waiting Place. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him, to the one who seeks him. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. Lamentations 3:25, verse 26. Naomi had returned to her little weatherboard cottage and the soft, familiar rhythm of the bookshop. It wasn't healing, not exactly, but it was something steady, something she could hold on to when everything else felt too loose to grasp. Ruthie and James checked in daily, never empty-handed. Scones wrapped in tea towels, flowers from the paddock, a thermos of coffee still warm. Small, unspoken kindnesses offered without fanfare. It was care in its simplest form, and for Ruthie it became more than care, it became an anchor. Looking after Naomi gave Ruthie something to focus on, something that pulled her forward. Pouring energy into someone else meant she didn't have to sit too long in the silence of her own mind, where fear lived like an echo. She didn't have to ask the questions that crouched behind every door, questions with sharp edges, about Dylan, about where he was, about when the next fracture might crack open beneath her feet. Some mornings, she forgot. Just for a moment, she believed the world was ordinary again. Then the silence would remind her. The house had been repaired, the broken glass swept, the door rehinged, the mattress replaced, but something still hummed beneath the surface. A picture frame just slightly crooked, a tightness under her ribs, a breath that stopped halfway and never quite made it home. Healing didn't come in clean lines. It came in fragments, in haunted mornings, hollow evenings, in pretending she was okay because pretending was easier than falling apart. And yet, slowly, life returned. Bear began to match her rhythms again, his tail thumping against the floor when she crossed the room. The chickens came when she called. Margaret stopped by with bread and gentle company. Neil left tools and quiet encouragement. Micah brought his awkward humor like medicine he hoped she wouldn't notice. Each evening ended with a call to Naomi, sometimes filled with words, sometimes with silence, but it mattered. Their rhythm wasn't loud, but it was real. One warm afternoon, Ruthie wandered the property alone. The breeze stirred the grass, the light turned gold, but inside her, thoughts still swirled, about Naomi, about Dylan, and about a deeper question that had begun to rise to the surface. Something had started to shift weeks ago since Pastor Luke had spoken life into Naomi's shame, since Ruthie had opened the Bible and found not condemnation, but compassion. Not distance, but a God who drew near to pain. She didn't understand it all, but she felt it, like a door cracking open somewhere deep inside her soul. Drawn by something she couldn't name, Ruthie found herself walking toward the barn. Inside, dust spun in the shafts of afternoon light. James was working, sleeves rolled up, brow furrowed. He looked up when she entered but didn't speak. He waited.
James,
She said finally. She hesitated.
I know you believe in God, but I need to ask, how?
She stepped closer. The scent of hay and warm earth grounded her.
After everything,
She whispered.
Ellie, your dad, how do you still believe?
James leaned against a timber beam, his posture loosening.
Honestly,
He said, scratching at the back of his neck.
I do, but it's not easy. Some days it's a choice I make with clenched fists.
She listened, heart quiet.
I've seen darkness.
He said.
Not just pain, but evil. And the only thing that made sense of it was knowing that for evil to exist, then good had to exist as well.
He looked down.
When Ellie was alive, my faith felt clearer. She made it easier. But when she died, it got messy. I drifted. Still do sometimes.
Ruthie lowered herself onto a hay bale.
I want to believe,
She said.
but when I try, all I feel is doubt, silence.
James nodded.
I've been there.
I prayed the night I ran,
she said, voice cracking.
Begged God to help me, promised everything if he just made a way. And I thought maybe he did. Maybe this farm, maybe you, were part of that answer.
She blinked hard.
But Dylan's still out there. The fear still comes. And it makes me wonder if God even heard me.
James knelt beside her,
I asked the same thing when Ellie died.
he said.
I stood over her grave, asking why prayers weren't enough, why the good ones get hurt, why evil gets away with so much.
He looked toward the barn doors where the sun dipped low behind the trees.
I don't have all the answers, but I do know this. God doesn't promise we won't bleed. He promises we won't bleed alone.
He looked back at her, steady.
And sometimes, when we're still enough, when the noise dies down, he comes close. Not always with answers, but with himself.
Ruthie wiped at her eyes. James's voice dropped low.
He's not asking for perfect faith, just honesty. He already knows what's in your heart. He just wants you to bring it.
She stared at her hands.
What if all I have is a whisper?
Then whisper.
He said, his voice thick.
It's more than enough.
He swallowed hard.
I used to think faith was armor, that if I prayed hard enough, nothing could touch me.
He shook his head.
But it's not armor, it's presence. It's choosing to believe that even when the world breaks wide open, God doesn't walk away.
Ruthie looked at him, eyes glassy.
And that's enough for you?
He gave a tired smile.
Not always. But it's enough to keep lighting a candle in the dark.
Her chin trembled.
I want to believe that, even if the flame flickers.
James placed his hand near hers, not touching, just close enough to feel the warmth.
If that's all you have,
He said gently,
then maybe it's already enough.
and for the first time in days, since the waiting began. Ruthie took a breath that didn't burn. By that Friday, the sky had softened, not just above her, but within her. She was coming home, not just to the farm, not just to her body, but to God. Memories still clung like smoke after fire. Dylan's shadow hadn't vanished. It still lingered like a question mark in the back of her mind. But something was shifting, not fast, but sure. She read the Bible in the quiet hours before dawn. She'd expected rules and reprimands. What she found instead was rebellion wrapped in compassion, a love that sat beside lepers, a Messiah who touched the untouchable, a God who didn't flinch at brokenness, but moved toward it. It undid her. This Jesus. He wasn't afraid of the dark, and maybe, just maybe, he wasn't afraid of hers either. She prayed now with honesty, no filter, no formality, and somewhere in the space between scripture and tears, Ruthie found something stronger than survival. She found the edges of renewal, and James saw it, in her stillness, in her questions, in the way she whispered God's name not like a burden, but like it soothed something raw inside her. His own faith, dulled by time and grief, began to flicker again. The world that had once felt like a battlefield now shimmered with quiet, sacred rhythms, not perfect, not painless, but steady. And in that steadiness, something inside Ruthie began to heal, not through grand moments or declarations, but through small, ordinary acts that grounded her in the present. Ruthie had started working at the bookshop beside Naomi, just a few hours at first, a gentle re-entry into the world. It had been Naomi's idea,
Come in, help me shelve books, drink tea, that's all.
she'd said with a half smile and a wink. When Ruthie mentioned it to James, he was genuinely happy for her. She could see it in the way his eyes softened, how her excitement brought a lightness to his face. But he made one quiet request, that she take Bear with her. Not because he doubted her strength, but because knowing Bear was by her side brought him peace of mind. So Bear became part of the daily rhythm, trotting beside her into the shop, settling under the counter, keeping quiet watch. Ruthie shelved poetry with reverence, the tender lines soothing something inside her. She brewed tea for regulars who spoke in low voices and loved the smell of old pages. She dusted forgotten corners and alphabetized fiction with quiet satisfaction, grinning each time Naomi teased her for reorganizing the cookbooks. Again. In those small, repetitive motions, placing a book on a shelf, wiping down the counter, pouring warm chai into mismatched mugs, Ruthie found something she hadn't felt in a long, long time. Purpose. The first time Naomi handed her an envelope with her name on it, her first pay, Ruthie stared at it in stunned silence. It wasn't about the money, though it helped. It was the weight of the moment, the ordinary sacredness of being trusted, needed, valued. She took the envelope home and laid it on the table, fingers brushing the paper like it might vanish. That night, when the house was quiet and Bear had curled up at her feet, she lit a candle, opened her Bible, and whispered.
Thank you.
The words came easy, simple, soft, true. She didn't have all the answers. She still carried fear, still startled at unexpected sounds. But now her days held shape. Her heart had a rhythm, and in the stillness of that rhythm she began to hear God. Not in thunder, not in visions, but in the rustle of pages and the smile of a stranger, in the warm mug between her palms, in the gentle joy of showing up and being seen.
Thank you for listening to this chapter of Healing on the Land. If this story has touched your heart, I'd love for you to come join me for the next chapter. You can find it here on this channel. If you'd like to support more Christian storytelling, you can purchase the full book or make a donation using the link in the description. Your support, no matter the size, helps us to continue writing stories of faith, healing, and hope. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. May God bless you, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.